Beliefs have often been a force guiding humanity towards its current state. Our society is molded by beliefs that have been ingrained for thousands of years, powerful enough to shape reality. Religions, empires, and even national identities have emerged from our collective imagination. But beliefs also have their dark sides. In the Middle Ages, tens of thousands of women were killed simply because they were believed to be witches. During the Second World War, the belief in a pure Aryan race led to genocide and the deaths of 6 million Jews. In the 21st century, despite losing credibility to scientific evidence, numerous beliefs persist. One such is the practice of genital mutilation or circumcision. The sound of uplifting music in the early morning heralds a procession slowly making its way towards the ceremonial ground. A young boy stands naked, ready. Today is a significant day. The day he will transition into manhood. The ritual unfolds step by step, as it has for generations, leading to the pivotal moment. The foreskin is cut and removed. The blood flow is accompanied by joyful cheers from the villagers. For these young boys, adulthood begins now. The practice of circumcision is widespread in Kenya and among the Luhya people, where every male must undergo this rite of passage. Douglas Mieko, a relative of the circumcised boy, explains the significance of this day in their community. According to their beliefs, circumcision offers protection against various adversities. He asserts that an uncircumcised child, with the foreskin still intact, retains impurities. Hence, the removal of the foreskin is deemed necessary to ensure the child is clean. Mike Baraza, a circumcised boy, says that he has been circumcised and feels great. He says that he used to fear other boys, but now he can stand shoulder to shoulder with them. The atmosphere here contrasts with that in Kenya, where, instead of joyful cheers, there are only cries of pain. June is the month of circumcision in the Philippines, when many families take their sons to clinics. As the fourth largest country in the world in terms of male circumcision, the Philippine government supports free access to the practice in impoverished communities. Circumcision in the Philippines is influenced by Islam, which arrived in this region around 1450 AD. Despite the majority being Christian, circumcision remains prevalent. Vladimir Vincent Arbon, a circumcised boy, tells us that his mum told him he needed to get circumcised so he would grow taller and become a real man. From Africa to Asia, while the methods may differ, the fundamental essence remains the transition from boyhood to manhood. With a global male circumcision rate of around 1 in 3, the practice is not limited to developing countries. Developed countries practice it as well. A report from the US-based Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, based on data from National Health and Nutrition Examination Surveys, or NANES, conducted between 2005 and 2010, indicates that approximately 80.5% of American males are circumcised. The oldest evidence of circumcision comes from wall paintings in ancient Egypt, but historians speculate that the Middle East might have been the birthplace of this practice. It's interesting to note, however, that in ancient times, circumcision was also used to punish prisoners of war. During the Victorian era, circumcision became increasingly popular among Westerners, as it was believed to help curb masturbation, which people at that time viewed as a behaviour leading to poor health, failing eyesight, and moral decadence. Various cultural beliefs result in circumcision being performed at different ages. In Jewish tradition, baby boys are circumcised 8 days after birth. Among Muslims, the appropriate age range is between 8 and 12 years old. Meanwhile, for the Kenyan people, circumcision marks the rite of passage into adulthood at around the age of 10.
It's more than religion. It's what has been, I would say, even, maybe we can call it tradition. It has been done for generations, and so there's this expectation that, boys will abide by the tradition.
Nowadays, with every sexual encounter carrying the risk of transmitting diseases, circumcision has been promoted in public health campaigns, especially in developing countries where people have limited knowledge or access to protective measures like condoms. Medical reports indicate that removing the foreskin can reduce the accumulation of bacteria by up to 80%. Additionally, it helps reduce the risk of contracting herpes by 35% and HPV by 28%. Prominent billboards promoting circumcision are part of the HIV prevention campaign here in Zimbabwe. Although they don't have the same kind of coming-of-age ritual as the Kenyans, an increasing number of men are now choosing to undergo circumcision. This rising popularity stems from the WHO's 2007 recommendation, which promoted circumcision in Africa, after a study in Uganda found that circumcised men who had sexual relations with HIV-positive women had a 60% lower risk of contracting the virus compared to uncircumcised men.
Male circumcision does work. It has been proven in several countries that it actually works to improve men's hygiene, but most importantly also to prevent or to reduce the risk of HIV acquisition by men.
The research indicating that circumcised individuals are at lower risk of infections does not, however, extend to developed countries. Critics contend that circumcision is unnecessary with proper hygiene practices and condom use. The impact on the body's condition and functioning remains a subject of debate. Each year, a number of infant boys succumb to circumcision complications shortly after birth. Additionally, adult circumcision can occasionally result in diminished sexual sensation during intercourse. From ancient Egyptian wall paintings to modern medicine, circumcision is now often considered an elective surgery. In many cases, though, individuals lack the autonomy to decide, leading some countries to ban it as a form of violence against children. Amidst the controversy, this ancient practice persists. Nevertheless, male circumcision cannot be equated with the female version. Not only does female genital mutilation lack any medical benefits, but for many women, the moment a part of their genitalia is cut off, the life that remains for them is akin to being dead inside.
If you want to see more great content from all over the world, please like the video, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.
Piercing cries emanate from one of the houses. The people here know all too well what such sounds signify. Screams of agony ring out each time visitors arrive, before subsiding and disappearing for days or weeks afterward. Today, the cries belong to Salsa, an 18-month-old baby girl. Dressed in a colourful traditional outfit, little Salsa is surrounded by female relatives offering blessings after a small piece of flesh has been cut from her body. Indonesia is a country where roughly half of young girls still undergo some form of female genital mutilation driven by religious beliefs. Occurrences of the ritual increase in rural areas, especially here in Gorontalo province on the island of Sulawesi. Here, people believe that if a girl does not undergo circumcision, she will grow up physically and mentally impaired or become promiscuous.
Kalau nanti nggak disunat, nanti
Khadijah Ibrahim, a traditional healer in Indonesia, explains that circumcision is necessary for individuals to enter Islam. According to Indonesian government data, 80% of girls in Gorontalo undergo some form of circumcision, while the national rate is around 50%. The cries and traumas of circumcised girls have sparked heated debate. Opponents argue that it's a violent act against women. The United Nations has stated that female circumcision has no health benefits and amounts to the brutalization of women. Calls to ban the practice echo at every level, leading Indonesia to pass a law prohibiting it. While the number of circumcised girls has significantly decreased, for some, mere reduction isn't enough. It must be eradicated permanently.
The Quran itself, there is no mention at all about the obligation of female circumcision. For male, it is, yes, it is obligatory, but for female, there is no verse, even there is no word that actually oblige women to do circumcision.
The World Health Organization categorizes female circumcision into 4 types. One involves the removal of the clitoral hood. The second entails the removal of both the clitoris and the labia minora. The third involves the removal of both the labia majora and minora, followed by the stitching of the remaining genitalia, leaving only a small opening. The last type involves the complete removal of the external genitalia, resulting in total disfigurement. Similar to male circumcision, female circumcision has been practiced since ancient Egypt, with the oldest evidence dating back to Greek explorer records from 25 years before the birth of Christ, although it is believed to have originated in the sub-Saharan region of Africa. In Indonesia, female circumcision often involves only the removal of the prepuce covering the clitoris, while in Africa and the Middle East, both the clitoris and the labia may be excised. Mary Sila and Sarah Setun are Kenyan girls who fled their female circumcision ceremonies. They belong to the Maasai tribe, in which everyone must undergo this ritual to become adults. Mary says that she doesn't want to be circumcised, married off, or stop going to school. Meanwhile, Sarah explains that when girls undergo circumcision, they will face numerous difficulties during childbirth. This is one of the main reasons she refuses to be circumcised. Their refuge is a modest house, part of a church founded by Christian Kenyans located in Narok, a small town west of Nairobi. The reasons for cutting, trimming, and even sewing up the genitals have varied greatly, from the belief that the clitoris was the source of unpleasant odours to being seen as a symbol of religious initiation. The main reason shared among many cultures has, however, been the control of women. In many societies, it's believed that circumcision prevents women from indulging in sexual activity, leading to a morally upright life. Brides who have undergone circumcision are considered purer than ordinary women. Oli Mairuj Kepaken, a Maasai elder, asserts that it's important for a woman to undergo circumcision so that she can go to her husband's household. He explains that the Maasai people don't permit their daughters to marry unless they are circumcised, unlike the Luo or Turkana. The difference from male circumcision which at least has perceived hygiene benefits, is that female circumcision lacks any benefits whatsoever. Many young girls bleed to death from it, and survivors face health issues ranging from urinary problems to abnormal menstrual flow. Psychologically, the genital mutilation leads to low self-esteem. It's a lifelong, never-ending torment. In extreme cases where the vaginal opening is narrowed, women face excruciating pain again during childbirth. Christine Chepetema, a survivor of female genital mutilation, shares that each time she gives birth, doctors have to cut her open again. As cruel as it is, around 200 million girls and women worldwide remain circumcised today. About 50 million of them are in the Middle East and North Africa. In Somalia, 98% of females have part of their genitals removed during childhood. In this modern, scientifically driven world, where life is safeguarded by advanced medicine, ancient blades continue cutting just because previous generations did it. As the procession approaches, the sound of cheers rises, accompanied by Ugandan youths dancing to the rhythm. This is a component of the circumcision ritual that has endured for generations. Unlike in the past, the actual genital cutting is now omitted, with only other ceremonial aspects remaining. The change is a result of a new law, promulgated in 2010, which explicitly prohibits female genital mutilation, helping to reduce this practice. Reports from NGOs indicate, however, that it persists clandestinely in some areas. Poverty is a key driver. Here, a circumcised bride fetches a higher bride price or dowry, incentivizing poor families to take their daughters for genital mutilation secretly.
It is good to tell the mothers to do what, to stop circumcising the girls, because they are the mothers who take them in the bush to circumcise them.
When you go to hospitals, in various hospitals in both Kenyans and also in Uganda, there are many women that are dying because of the circumcisions. And the others, they go to the big operations. That is the problem.
Though remnants may linger, the harsh penalties prove this approach works. Similarly, in Uganda's neighbouring country, Kenya, the enforcement of laws against female circumcision has led to a decrease in the rates of young girls undergoing circumcision by 10% over the past decade. Yet the influence of belief remains strong. Parents adhering to the custom take their daughters across borders to Somalia or Tanzania, where circumcision laws are not as strict.
Here in Kenya, there is a lot of awareness on FGM, and then you have a lot of monitors at community level that actually know this girl is going to be cut, and then they alert the authorities. So what the families nowadays are doing is taking the girls to Tanzania to be cut.
Laws alone are insufficient. Crucially, every girl must be educated about the dangers to protect themselves from falling victim, and the most effective tool is education itself. 12 years ago, Sharon ran away upon discovering her family's plan to have her circumcised. It was the implementation of a new curriculum designed to address the issue which saved her. She received assistance with accommodation in a shelter provided for girls in a similar situation. Now, she's returned to live fearlessly with her family after Kenya's ban on female circumcision in 2011.
They are very, 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 very afraid. For example, now, if parents tells me, for example, if my parents come and tell, or my mom, nah, you have to be circumcised. Now, if I tell her, no, I do not have to be circumcised, it's my right for me to refuse, and I will take you to the police.
Change is underway, but it's not enough. At present, only 59 countries worldwide have laws penalising female circumcision, including the UK, Denmark and Sweden. Nonetheless, this barbaric practice persists globally, even in the US, where only 15 states enforce laws prohibiting it. 80% of today's circumcisions are performed by qualified medical personnel.
Change can happen through sustained media attention on the damaging public health consequences of FGM, as well as on the abuse of the rights of hundreds of thousands of women and girls around the world.
It's not just stories, it's the lives of girls. Their dreams, their hopes, their lives are being furnished. I tell you this because this is not tradition. This is not culture. This is a violation of human rights, violations of children who don't even know what their future look like. Why are we letting it happen?
In recent years, international organisations have made strenuous efforts to put an end to this harmful practice. UNICEF aims to eliminate female genital mutilation worldwide by 2030. Despite violating a woman's rights over her own body and consigning countless women to dire fates, female circumcision is unfortunately a lucrative business in many countries. It is a revenue stream fueled by superstition, while efforts to prevent it and rehabilitate victims require immense funding as well. Female genital mutilation has become a global issue that indeed should never have existed in the first place.